12 signs you feel different from others. Do you sometimes feel like your emotions are so deep and colorful you just can't compete with them? That's a sign that you may be a highly sensitive person. But are you really? If so, what does it even mean? Let's try to figure it out together. Before you find an answer to the big question, be sure to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to join us on the bright side of life. Okay, so the essence of being a highly sensitive person is closely connected to another important notion: sensory processing sensitivity. This term was created by psychologists Elaine and Arthur Aron back in the 90s. They explained that sensory processing sensitivity is basically a temperamental or personality trait that reflects an increased sensitivity of the central nervous system, along with deeper cognitive processing of physical, social, and emotional stimuli. Put simply, it means you can have acute responses to pretty much everything from your surroundings to your own thoughts. Elaine and Arthur Aron created a term for people with a high measure of sensory processing sensitivity and started to call them highly sensitive people. Moreover, the Arons developed a highly sensitive person scale questionnaire, which allows them to establish that highly sensitive people make up about 15 to 20% of the population. However, this scale is not always necessary. Not that long ago, specialists revealed a whole bunch of signs that can help you establish whether you're highly sensitive or not. So let's see what these simple clues are. Number 1. You're really emotional. This is one of the most obvious signs of highly sensitive people. They feel it all, and they express it. It can be anger, happiness, tears, you name it. The size of their emotional range, however, can sometimes cause problems with others. This is simply because they don't understand why highly sensitive people get so worked up over little details. Thankfully, highly sensitive people have a very rich inner world too, and they can turn to it in moments of stress. So if someone you know is highly sensitive, never make them feel weird or ashamed of how they feel. If you don't understand something, it doesn't mean it's wrong. So be considerate and patient. Highly sensitive people will certainly appreciate that. Number 2, you can read people like an open book. If you can sense the atmosphere in a room as soon as you walk in, you've got to be one of those highly sensitive people. They're the true kings and queens of nonverbal communication with their ability to detect any slight changes in somebody else's mood. And that's because they subconsciously pay attention to little things like body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions. Even though it seems like it would be cool to know so much about other people, it quickly gets incredibly exhausting, as highly sensitive people can't help but absorb others' emotions. So if you leave pretty much every conversation feeling emotionally dried out, there's a high chance that you really are one of those highly sensitive folks. Number 3, you're sensitive to caffeine. Coffee is a great drink to kickstart your day, right? Not for highly sensitive people. Research conducted by Elaine and Arthur confirmed that caffeine affects highly sensitive people much more strongly than others. And it's not at all the positive effect you'd expect. Just 1 cup of coffee can ruin a highly sensitive person's day as their heart starts pumping, their nervousness kicks in, and they feel terrible for a couple of hours, and possibly the whole day. Coffee is basically kryptonite for the majority of highly sensitive people. Number 4, you hate scary movies. Every time you go to the cinema or have a movie night with your friends, you try to stay as far away from horror movies as you can. Yes, your friends may be disappointed, but you can't stand this genre. If you're looking for a reason why, it may be because you're one of the highly sensitive crew. According to Elaine and Arthur Aron, highly sensitive people are unbelievably empathic and overstimulated, which makes watching any suffering unbearable for them, even on a physiological level. So if this sounds like you, add another check mark to the list. Number 5, you're very polite. As people who feel everything very strongly, highly sensitive people can go to great lengths to make sure they don't hurt somebody's feelings. Elaine and Arthur Aron confirmed this, saying that highly sensitive people are extremely conscientious. Even if they aren't that content around someone, they'll always be as nice and polite as they can. In addition, their ability to notice every single detail allows them to see bad manners in others. And there's nothing that annoys them more than rude and inconsiderate people. Number 6. Loud noises scare you. Remember how highly sensitive people hate horror movies? Well, one more reason for this is jump scares, as highly sensitive people find it hard to cope with loud noises. And it can be anything: a loud boombox playing at the party, or loud people who don't know that silence is an option. As highly sensitive people are naturally more overwhelmed by an abundance of activity, any unnecessarily loud noise cuts through their heads like a buzzsaw, preventing them from hearing their own thoughts or concentrating on anything else. If you get seriously scared by sudden car alarms going wild on the street or other unexpected sounds, that's another clue for you. Number 7. You can't stand conflict. Constant fights and disagreements create an extreme level of tension, which highly sensitive people feel to the fullest. Sometimes, all these emotions can make them physically sick after an especially brutal conflict. As a result, they tend to avoid confrontations and keep the peace by any means necessary. It's way easier for them to say what you want to hear than to go through the terror of arguing with someone they truly love and care about. Number 8. You take criticism badly. Someone's words can make or break a highly sensitive person. If you encourage them, they'll feel like they can do anything. If you strongly criticize them, their confidence will plummet. According to Julie Bieland, a psychotherapist specializing in sensory processing sensitivity, highly sensitive people have a very active limbic system, often called the emotional brain. This means that in situations where others would turn to their thinking brain to not take things personally, highly sensitive people process things emotionally, even if they know the criticism isn't true. These harsh words can even bring back memories of all the other painful comments that were made in the past. So if you see yourself in this description, it's just one more reason to believe that you may, in fact, be highly sensitive. Number 9. You're prone to anxiety and depression. Highly sensitive people have strong emotions, and their emotions are often affected by other people's feelings. At times, this can be too much and lead to serious problems like anxiety and depression. It's not that easy for them to fight these conditions, since their sharp and deep feelings don't go anywhere. This all happens because highly sensitive people can experience different kinds of overstimulation that leads to depression, including those connected to the environment, their body, and their inner world. Therefore, they have to work hard to keep everything balanced in their minds and hearts. Number 10. You get hangry pretty easily. Have you ever felt especially angry and irritated if you haven't had anything to eat for a while? That's hangry for you. Even though you can all relate to it in some sense, highly sensitive people feel it on a whole other scale. It's all thanks to their sensitivity to any blood sugar changes that happen when you skip a meal. Amy Morin, a psychotherapist and author of the book 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do, says that being hangry makes it hard for highly sensitive people to concentrate and get something done. So if you notice that your mood quickly and inevitably changes when you're hungry, this might be a sign of your high sensitivity. Number 11. You're very sensitive to lights, smells, and textures. Highly sensitive people usually feel very uncomfortable when exposed to bright light. Just like with loud noises, bright lights are considered to be a strong sensory input for them, which they don't take that well. The same thing goes for strong smells, even nice ones, and rough clothing textures. That's why highly sensitive people might leave the room when someone's wearing a particularly strong perfume. Plus, they pick their clothes very carefully to make sure they feel 100% comfortable in them. Number 12. We often have vivid dreams. Just as I mentioned before, highly sensitive people have rich and colorful inner worlds. Thanks to that, they were real daydreamers when they were little and probably had more than one imaginary friend. But as they got older, it transformed into having very detailed and realistic dreams with plots that could easily win an Oscar. Moreover, their mind works its magic when they're awake too, constantly sparkling with new ideas, plans, and scenarios. So how many of these signs matched with your personality? Tell us in the comment section below. Don't forget to give this video a like. Share it with your friends and click subscribe. Stay on the bright side.